Today on The Young and the Restless, Summer gets an eyeful of Kyle and Claire, Faith refuses to leave town, and Nick pushes Sharon to stay quiet. All products and services featured are independently chosen by editors. However, soaps.com may receive a commission on orders placed through its retail links, and the retailer may receive certain auditable data for accounting purposes. Jordan is outside of society in disguise. She peers in at Faith and tries to hide her face as Kyle and Claire stroll by. Before they can go inside, Claire stops and asks if she knows her. Jordan puts on a British accent and says no before dashing away. Kyle asks what that was about, and Claire explains she just seemed familiar. Once they enter, they spot Faith and see how sad she is. They walk over and startle her. She appreciates their concern and tells them it's been a tough time for her family. Claire reminds her they are cousins and she'll always be there to listen. Awkwardly, Faith thanks her for that and leaves to check on her mom. Kyle and Claire get a table, and he admires her goodness and light and desire to save everyone. Claire says she's paying back for all the bad things she's done. He assures her that he's a better everything now thanks to her. Even though she knows it sounds silly and naive, she tells him how hard it was to let someone in. When they made love, it was almost overwhelming. It was better than any drink she's had. She giggles and fans herself. They decide to order food. As they talk about how nice this is and how delicious fries are, he kisses her hand. Summer walks in and clocks them. She interrupts to tell them that she saw a movie about robots with Harrison. When she's invited to join them, Summer claims she's just there for takeout and immediately walks over to the bar. Leaning over to him, Claire asks Kyle if Summer sensed that they are now closer. She doubts Summer appreciates that, but he's sure she's dealing with enough right now and is distracted. They have a good thing going and should enjoy it. All she has to do is feel good. As they laugh, Summer gets her food bag and walks over. She asks why they seem so much closer. He explains they have become much closer. Claire brings him good luck. She's part of the reason he's fixing things with his parents. Summer says she's glad they found this friendship and walks out. He guesses that Claire may have been right about Summer. Seeing them together may have pushed her buttons. Kyle loves looking at Claire's smile. She says he's been smiling a lot too and thinks that's at least partially because of his parents. Has he really come around to forgiving them? He'd rather not talk about this, but she won't drop it. Kyle wonders if he was just projecting what he wants to happen. He doesn't want his anger and resentment to still be there, but he hasn't been able to shake it. He needs her to ground him. She is his North Star. That makes him believe that there will be a day when the anger is gone, and there is only love. They kiss. On the Crimson Lights patio, Nick begs Sharon to give him some time before she changes her plea. He sent her pills to a lab to be checked. The toxicology results could change everything. His ex points out they won't make her innocent. A woman is dead, and a family has been torn apart because of her. Nick says she may not have been in her right mind when all of this happened. That makes a difference. Michael comments that he's not wrong. Nick suggests there could have been something off with the pills. He wants to run through every possible option until this makes sense. He's never going to be convinced that she's a cold-blooded killer and won't let this go until he has an answer. Sharon admits that claims of tainted medication would sound like a crock if she were on a jury. The lawyer agrees it would be a long shot. The fact that Nick gave the meds to Chance to check only makes things worse. If the authorities find evidence that could be useful, it could be suppressed because of the questionable source. Sharon thinks they are just prolonging the inevitable. The uncertainty is too painful, and she needs to prepare herself for her sake and the children's. Nick gets her a list of all the things she will miss in the kids' lives if she resigns herself to going to prison. She tears up and Nick repeats they need to exhaust every possibility. Michael isn't as confident that this will work out as well, and Nick hopes, and walks out to find Chance. Sharon wonders why Nick keeps putting up with her when she's such a pain. Nick takes Sharon out to the park. She thanks him for getting her into the air. It's been a little much at work. It feels like everyone is staring and glaring at the City murderess. She's sorry she's putting him through this and reminds him he can take off whenever he wants. Nick isn't going anywhere. It shocks her that he's determined to help her when he knows she's guilty. He's never said that once. He's still questioning this. She asks what happens if the truth isn't what he wants to hear. She could have just snapped and becoming homicidal. That's hard for him to swallow. Something happened to cause all this, and he suspects it was out of her control. Sharon feels like she doesn't deserve him and his goodness and rests her head on his shoulder. "Yeah, you do," he says. When Sharon and Nick return to Crimson Lights, they find Faith waiting for them. She admits she ran into Lucy and it was awful. She said a lot of ugly stuff that was hard to listen to. It was scary too. Sharon is so sorry she had to deal with that. Faith worries they really want her mom to pay for what she did. Could she go to prison for the rest of her life? Nick tells Faith that it's too early to think about that. Sharon is sure her daughter is wondering how her mother could have done such horrible things. Faith is trying not to think about it. Sure this won't end fast, her mom doesn't want her to be around for this and suggests she go back to school. Faith refuses to turn her back on her mom. Noah wants to come back too, and she refuses to go. Nick agrees with their daughter, and he's proud of her. He adds that he may have something in the works that could explain how all this happened. It could help the case. Faith says there is hope after all and hugs her mom. Nick says there's always hope. At the Abbott manse, Jack tells Diane how happy he is to see her smiling. They discuss the catharsis that she and Kyle have experienced. She wants the same thing for Jack. Her husband says they are in motion, but she doesn't think it can wait. There is unfinished business, and the sooner it is resolved, the better. Jack doesn't want to jump the gun. His wife reminds him that his son loves him. Even in the worst of this, that never changed. As happy as Jack is that their son owned up to his role in their conflict, he doubts Kyle will totally forgive him. He thinks it's significant that Kyle turned to her first, and he doesn't want to push things in case they blow up in his face. When his wife suggests that Kyle may be scared to talk to him, Jack finds that hard to believe. All the hurt he had been carrying has dissolved since their son admitted to his flaws. She urges him to tell their son that he wants him at Jabot and forgives him. He's the only one who can convince him of that. He thanks her for telling him what needs to be done. He likes the idea that she will be part of this and they can finally get back to being the family they wanted to be. Diane hopes so too, but she admits that she had doubts that Kyle would believe her when she talked to him. It would mean everything to her if the two men could forgive each other. They kiss and then muse on how Victor will feel when he finds out they got Glycade's assets back on the cheap. They toast with coffee to succeeding in their mission. He tells her not to minimize the sacrifice she made for their son. She has no regrets. Having their son back is worth giving up any career. As they ponder what she will do to fill up her time, Jack would be surprised if she didn't jump right back into work. She's sure she can find something. He already has an idea he'd like her to consider. He's planning to roll Glycade into Jabot and launch a retro fragrance line in homage to his father, and he wants her to be in charge. That makes Diane beam. They look forward to rubbing this in Victor's face. Giving him a kiss, she thanks Jack for believing in her. "You will never lose that," he says.